When I was 14, my parents split up. My dad remarried within a year to Lillian, a woman he'd been seeing for a while. She and her son James moved in with us. At first, I tried to get along with him, but James was different. He had this sly way of smiling whenever something went wrong for me, and he quickly made it his mission to ruin everything I had. If I'd saved up to buy something, he'd borrow it until it was broken. If I did well at school, he'd find a way to talk down about my grades. My dad never saw it though. He always said I should be the older, bigger person, and let James settle in. Everything came to a head when I started dating Clara at 16. James had noticed her at a family party and asked me all kinds of questions about her, but I thought he was just being his usual annoying self. I found out later he'd been planting ideas about me in her mind for months, telling her I was a player, that he'd caught me flirting with other girls, and that I was someone she shouldn't trust. Clara eventually broke up with me, saying she couldn't handle the rumors, which she believed to be true. James made sure to comfort her, and it wasn't long before he was dating her himself. A few months after that, things spiraled even further. My dad got a call from my school's principal. They said they had received reports that I'd been stealing from students. I was stunned and had no idea what was going on, but when I got home, James was there, looking smug as ever, standing next to my dad, holding a backpack filled with items that had supposedly gone missing. He claimed he'd found it in my room. I protested, trying to explain that it was a setup, but my dad was furious. He called me a disgrace, threw me out, and told me never to come back. I spent the next 3 years bouncing between shelters and friends' couches. I got involved in petty theft, not because I wanted to, but because I had to survive. The whole time, I was haunted by thoughts of what I'd lost: my home, my family, Clara, and even my future. Fast forward 10 years, and out of nowhere, I get a Facebook message from Clara. She wanted to reconnect, and I found out she'd split from James recently. She told me that James had a falling out with his friends, and someone finally called him out on the lies he'd told about me. According to Clara, he had admitted that he'd framed me and confessed that he wanted me gone. His plan had been successful all those years ago, but the truth finally came back to bite him. Now that everyone knows the truth, his life is in shambles. Shortly after Clara's message, I got a call from my dad. He told me he was sorry, that he'd been wrong about James and wanted to make amends. He said he wanted to rebuild our relationship and hoped I could forgive him. As he went on, explaining how much he missed me, I could feel the anger boiling inside. It was an apology I'd waited years to hear, but now that I had it, it felt hollow. I told him he'd already made his choice years ago. He'd chosen James over his own son, and nothing could erase the years of abandonment I'd suffered. In the end, I hung up on him, ignoring the flood of messages that followed. I knew they were only coming now because his world had finally collapsed.